Right, okay, so we're at Lud's Cave and we've just been talking to a couple who were bumped into. A bit of a scary moment. They've been walking with their two dogs, but what happened is, so this is Lud's Cave, this is part of the ravine down here, and don't want to get too close to the edge. But anyway, basically the couple, they've had a good old poke around down there, but they actually split up, and the chap went across the top here, and his wife came down this path here. So there was, you know, basically one of the dogs decided to run across here, not realising there's a ravine down there, and basically just fell all the way down there into the bottom, and that's some drop, I'll tell you. And they thought they'd broken its leg, so obviously, you know, it's quite a scary moment. And the dog somehow got up there, so basically it just sort of like come off the top here and just fell all the way down there. Obviously they're scared to death that it might have broken its leg or something like that. But anyway, they're on the way now, and you know, the dog seems to be alright, thank goodness. But it's just one of these situations where sometimes you just can't anticipate, you just can't predict, you know, creatures are going to do something, but thank God he's alright. Right, okay, so as we've seen, that situation could have turned out to be really nasty. The dog could quite easily have been killed. It could have broken a leg, two legs, who knows, it could have really hurt itself, damaged its internal organs, etc, etc. The point being the fact that that situation could have been quite a nasty one. And you know, myself and Tina were really grateful for the fact that that dog appeared to have escaped unscathed. We got home last night and we were just sort of unpacking stuff, and Tina made a rather interesting comment, and it got me thinking, and it prompted me to make this video which I'm making today, and to discuss the scenario which I've just shown you. And we're sitting around the kitchen table, and Tina said, do you know what, Dee, we carry far too much stuff with us, you know, we're humping around all this extra weight and we didn't need to. And it got me thinking, is that actually the case or not? It's fair to say that I did carry quite a few bits of equipment with me which we didn't need to use, but just because we didn't need to use it doesn't mean to say that it was redundant, doesn't mean to say that it was a waste of time. Because the thing is, of course, I mean, when we go on hikes, when we go out camping, that sort of thing, you've got to be prepared, you've got to be able to take account of certain contingencies should the need arise. And I just wanted to explore that with you for a moment, using the scenario which I've just showed with you. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open up the back of the car, and I've got the same bag with me which I've had yesterday, and all of the equipment which I took with me yesterday I've got with me in the bag, and I just wanted to go through it with you using the scenario yesterday as an example as to whether or not, you know, we could have perhaps utilised some of the stuff in the bag. I'll just reset the camera and I'll get back to you. Okay, so this is the bag which I had in my back yesterday. Okay, Tina had her own small rucksack. So basically all of the tools and all of the equipment which I had with me yesterday are in this bag. And the only thing I haven't got in here is the food. Basically we've eaten it all, okay. So I'm just going to empty the bag out and just display everything in the boot of my car, okay. Get back to you in a minute. So basically, you know, yeah, there is a lot of stuff there, and it's fair to say that you know, I didn't actually use any of this stuff. But the fact is, just because I didn't use it doesn't mean to say that it's a waste of time taking it. And this is a really important thing, because yeah, there is a little bit of weight attached. It's not a tremendous amount. I'm 6'4", you know, I'm quite a strapping bloke, you know, it wasn't any deal, you know, big deal sticking this in my rucksack and taking it with me. But for somebody perhaps like Tina, who is much you know, whose build is much slighter, then yeah, I mean, you know, it might have been a bit more of an issue. But using the scenario which occurred yesterday, where this dog fell basically down this ravine, could it have actually come in use? Because the thing is, of course, it's all right saying, yeah, you know, we didn't, you know, we're humping the stuff around, we didn't need to use it. But the fact is, could it have come in handy, not only for yourself, but perhaps for somebody else? So the dog fell down the ravine. As I say, I was very lucky that it didn't get killed or, you know, hurt itself really seriously. So let's just have a look and consider whether or not any of this stuff here may have actually come in use. I think the first thing is the fact that, you know, I mean, look, we've got a tarp here. This is one of these highly reflective tarps. It's got the full finish. If that dog had have hurt itself and it needed, I don't know, covering up just to sort of try and keep it warm, it could have been wrapped in that quite easily. There's eyelets on here, look. If you used that in conjunction with the paracord, you could have perhaps made a little stretcher just to remove the dog if necessary. If in the fortunate event that you know, the poor animal died, you could obviously use, rather than just carrying it 2 or 3 miles to the nearest house or farmyard, you could have actually wrapped the creature in that. Okay, not a very nice scenario to think about, but nevertheless it could have happened. Okay, we've got some tent pegs there. Possibly you could have used those to make a splint if the dog had broken its leg. You've got some Gorilla tape here. Look, you could have actually fashioned a splint and held it together using that. You've got a backhoe Lapland and a pruning saw there. You could have actually cut down some branches or put together some pieces of wood to fashion a splint. You've got some bags here. Look, what happened if that dog had really hurt itself quite badly and you were covered in blood, and you needed to you know, put rags and wipes and stuff like that, rather than just leaving them out there, you could quite easily put them in there. Okay, we had 3 of these, okay, in addition to thermos flask, but obviously they're filled full of water. Now at the end of the day, you know, obviously not only do you need to keep hydrated, but that dog may need to have been washed down, or it may have needed water itself. Okay, pair of gloves. I mean, that was a very slippery and potentially dangerous ravine, and it may well have been the case that you needed to wear a pair of gloves to get down there, or to bring the creature back up again without actually damaging your hands. So they could have come in useful. If you know, there was blood loss, or if the animal was damaged or hurt in any way, then obviously you've got a couple of tea towels there. They could have been utilised quite easily. If you need to summon help, you've got a whistle there, a very, very powerful loud whistle. At the end of the day, I think there are very few people who would ignore somebody repeatedly blowing on a whistle. And let's not forget the fact that Lud's church is actually situated in a forest. Okay, so it may well be the case that very few people may be able to hear you shout, but it's quite possible that they could hear a very loud piercing whistle, so that could have come in useful. So let's say, for example, that you know, you were, I don't know, you use your mobile phone to summon the emergency services or to make a call. What happens if somebody couldn't readily identify where you were? Well, that coat there, look, that waterproof jacket, that's highly fluorescent, that's highly visible, that will enable you to have been spotted rather easily. You've got a first aid kit, there's bandages and stuff in there. They would be equally useful for a human being as they would a dog. Okay, we've got another smaller emergency blanket here, look, and obviously, you know, if you needed to keep the creature warm, then that would come in handy. Let's say, for example, I don't know, there was your dog had thorns or something sticking in its one of its limbs or in its paw. You've got a pair of pliers. You've got a pair of pliers here. Look on that multi-tool. You could easily use those to remove a thorn or something like that. Okay. There's a pair of tweezers in there. They could have been used very effectively. We've already mentioned the possibility of having to fashion a splint from perhaps some limbs of a tree or some wood which you find knocking around. Obviously the backhoe Laplander, that would have come in handy. Even if you didn't go to the trouble of having that with you, you could fashion something using a knife. Okay. Now obviously, you know, if that dog had have injured itself and you needed to wait for some time, I mean, from about sort of, you know, 4:30 in the afternoon, that wood started to get really dark. You might need light. Well, look, we've got a number of lights here, not only just for one person but for a couple of people, with extra batteries. Okay, so they could have proved very useful indeed. And as we all know, not only can you actually light your path and from a health and safety point of view to make things a lot safer, but with a decent light, a lot of these actually have emergency SOS signalling devices on it. Okay, so they could obviously enable you to attract attention so people can see where you are. We've already mentioned about the compass and a map. As I say, I don't have the map here, but obviously they're absolutely invaluable. Okay, so at first blush it might appear that you're humping around a load of stuff that you don't need, stuff that you might not use, but surely the point is the fact that you may need them. either you may need them or somebody else might need them. I mean, that couple who we bumped into yesterday who were quite distraught, you know, the stuff I've got in my rucksack could have been absolutely invaluable in helping them to make that poor creature's situation a lot less severe, and you know, to enable them to perhaps remove it from that immediate area and to take it to a place of safety. So it's just one of those things whereby, you know, sometimes situations present themselves, and they're good learning curves really, and you know, we can learn lessons from them. And at the end of the day, you know, I'm a sort of, you know, person who firmly believes in learning from my own mistakes, but also we can learn from other people's mistakes as well, can't we? I mean, clearly, I mean, these two dogs, I mean, they were spaniels, and they were bombing around the place. We actually saw them earlier on in the walk, and at the trig at one of the trig points on one of the ridges, and these dogs were belting around. And you know what, it's nice to be able to take these sort of creatures out, let them have a good old run, have an adventure. But the thing is, you've got to be responsible as well. That situation would not have presented itself if they'd been kept on a lead. You know, to let these two I mean, even when the dog, we spent a good 10-15 minutes with them, and even when this dog, the one that fell down the sort of, you know, the ravine, this chasm, even when it was lying down, its tail was going bang, 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 bang. You know, it didn't stop. They're so, not highly strong is probably too strong a word for it, but you know, they're full of energy. And at the end of the day, you know, if you have two people walking either side of a sort of a big chasm like that, then, you know, there is a chance that if they hear one of you talking or shouting, they're going to make a beeline for you. And clearly, you know, they're not aware of the fact that there's a bloody great big hole just below their feet. So obviously common sense should have prevailed, and they should have perhaps anticipated that. But sometimes these things happen, and you only fully appreciate what you should have done after the event. But anyway, look, I just wanted to share this with you because it might actually help somebody else, and it might prompt somebody who takes their dog on their hikes, who takes the dog walking, just to sort of, you know, think about possible scenarios, and just to perhaps, you know, take one or two extra things with them which they may not have considered, and it may actually prove to be invaluable if in the unfortunate event that a situation arises where they might need to use some equipment or some stuff they've actually got in their rucksack. Okay, anyway, thanks for watching. Bye bye.